Polymorphic consensus blockchains are blockchains able to switch their type of consensus while running. And I demonstrated this in previous videos. I changed from Raft consensus to Tendermint and to Avalanche consensus. When you are able to change the consensus type back and forth in a system, an interesting property emerges: the automation of consensus changes based on the properties of the network. Each consensus algorithm comes with different liveness and safety properties, and different requirements for the minimum number of validators that will ensure those properties. In public blockchains, you trade liveness for safety, which means the chain can halt if enough nodes end up with a different chain state. But a flexible blockchain can self-heal. If it finds itself halted, it can switch to another consensus algorithm, and if that doesn't work, it can revert to another one, until the chain restarts its block production again. And you have two types of consensus revert: imperative and recursive. Imperative means that any time the blockchain halts, it automatically reverts to a predefined consensus algorithm, preferably the Genesis consensus. In the recursive case, you will follow the history of consensus changes and go back to the previous consensus algorithm until you find one that will advance the chain. And let's take this example. Assume we have a chain that started on Raft consensus, which requires that only one leader exists at any point in time. Then the chain switched to Tendermint once it had enough validators. Then the chain switched to an improved version of Raft called Raft 2. Then it switched to Avalanche consensus. And until this point, all the changes were done by governance with the chain running. But now we have an issue. The chain halted. And maybe it halted because of a faulty implementation of the algorithm. Maybe it was because of faulty parameters. But now, if the validators go through several rounds without being able to reach consensus on the next block, a meta protocol can start that either will imperatively revert to the first Raft consensus, and this can be a case where the Raft consensus can have a dedicated trusted server, or you can recursively revert first to Raft 2, and if that doesn't work and it doesn't advance the chain, then you can revert to Tendermint, and if that doesn't work, you can revert to Raft 1. If the nodes halt because of an error in the consensus algorithm contract, and the consensus process cannot even produce voting rounds anymore, you can have a meta-consensus process that gets triggered automatically if it's not inhibited by the normal working consensus. And this is exactly how the electrical conduction system of the heart works. It has three main points of fallback. If the main sinoatrial node fails to produce electric signal, then the atrioventricular node takes over. If that fails, then the Purkinje fibers have their own electrical signals. To create artificial intelligence, we are looking at the best patterns from the human brain. But AI needs a body that is flexible and resilient to the changes in context, while being able to preserve provable truth and human consensus. And this could be a technology like the blockchain.